Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel.
Hello, everybody. Greetings to episode number 22 of the Open Mic. Hope everybody's having a good day, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Today we're going to finish up talking about the Brady violations. We still had 3 to go from last time that we were talking about it, and then we're going to talk about one potential Denny suspect that we didn't really cover. So, with that said, I'd like to welcome the folks here in the Discord with us, and let's go down the list here and let everyone say hello so everybody recognizes names. Alice.
Hello everyone, I'm Cha and welcome.
EB.
Hey everybody.
Checking convictions.
Hey everybody.
Disco. I'm not sure if Disco's here or not.
Hey, bitches. Hope you're all well.
There she is. Jinxie.
Hello.
Susan.
Hi everyone.
And Sammy. I'm not sure. Sammy might be away from chat, so we can talk to her later though. So we were we actually had a great conversation last time we went through this. We had Sapper Cop join us, which we really appreciated. Him coming in from the live chat, straight into Discord, and took a few moments to get set up, but he joined us in chat. We just had a really good conversation. So that's what it's all about. Having this platform for everybody to discuss and talk and so forth. So with that said, I'm going to open up our PDF to where we left off. It's going to pop in there momentarily, and you'll see we still got 3 left. Well, it's going to show 2, but Sowinski's not named in this particular in her brief because it hadn't happened yet. So Ms. Heitl, she turned in an affidavit to Zellner, which I'll pull over here, and we'll just go through. I don't know that it's 3 pages. I don't know that I'm going to read every single bit of it, but we'll just get to the meat of it. So starting off, affidavit of Denise Heitl. Am I saying that right? Heitl, maybe?
I say Heitl.
Heitl? Yeah, I think that's probably right. Okay, number 1. I'm legal majority and can truthfully and completely testify to the matters contained herein based upon my personal knowledge. The factual statements herein are true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. I'm of sound mind, and I'm not taking any medication, nor have I ingested any alcohol that would impair my memory of the facts stated in this affidavit. Teresa Halbach took senior portraits of my son in the fall of 2005. I didn't personally know Teresa, and this is the first time I had hired her to take photos. To the best of my recollection, a coworker referred me to Teresa. Number 3.
Excuse me, Jax. They're saying in the chat that your voice is dropping in and out. I haven't listened, but I'm taking it. Some of them are doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too.
Yeah, I can hear a slight kind of modulation too.
What about this? Does that sound better?
I think so.
It sounds good on this end. Let's ask chat.
Okay, I switched.
Sounds good, Paul.
I switched a little setting up there, so maybe it sound okay. You guys let me know. Yeah. Well, just let me know if it's not right. So we'll do something different.
Okay.
Number 3.
Yeah, Paula said yes, it is.
Okay. Before October 31st, 2005, Teresa had called me to let me know that the prints were ready to be picked up and to ask that I call her back and set up a time for me to pick them up. I called Teresa back on October 31st, 2005, and wound up leaving her a voice message. She called me back a little later on October 31st, 2005, and told me that we could schedule the time for me to pick up the pictures. My recollection is that she called me around 11:30 a.m. on October 31st, 2005. I have reviewed a page from Miss Halbach's telephone records labeled Exhibit A and attached and incorporated into this affidavit. I recognize my telephone number is line 19 at 11:35, 13 seconds a.m. My memory is refreshed by reviewing Exhibit A that my conversation with Miss Halbach occurred around 11:35 a.m. on October 31st, 2005. At that point, she told me that she was driving, but that she would pull over to check her calendar before scheduling my appointment. She said she worked for a car magazine taking photos of cars, and she was on her way to an appointment. She didn't say where she was going or where she was meeting, or who she was meeting, pardon me. Number 5. During our conversation on October 31st, 2005, at 11:35 a.m., Teresa checked her calendar, and we scheduled an appointment for the following day at her studio in Green Bay for me to pick up the pictures. I went to the studio in Green Bay on November 1st. Teresa did not show up for my appointments with her. While I was waiting for Teresa, an older man who I took to be Teresa's boss at the studio showed up, and I told him that I had an appointment with Teresa to pick up the pictures. I remember that he commented that it was strange that Teresa missed my appointment. He found the pictures and gave them to me. Number 6. Later, I was interviewed by the police. I don't remember the date of the interview, but I know that it was before Steven Avery's trial. One detective interviewed me at work. I can't remember the name of the officer, which agency he was from. I told him of all the information contained in this affidavit. That was the only contact I had with law enforcement that I can remember. I was not contacted by law enforcement to appear at Steven Avery's trial as a witness. Number 7. Nothing has been given or promised me in exchange for this affidavit. Signed, and therefore, and so on. Okay, that's it. That's the extent of her affidavit. So let's open it up for a little conversation of what we think about that, and just start wherever. Who's got a comment?
Can you tell me if there was a call from her on the dispatch calls? You remember? I thought there
Yeah,
was
that's what I was going to ask. Was that lady who said, "Well, my kid's fingerprints will be all over it," and is that the same call?
She went by Coakley back then.
Okay.
Oh, that's possible. I'm not going to say there's not because there's so many calls.
Right.
It's possible. I don't remember if there is. I just don't recall. Maybe somebody else in the chat or whatever can remember. But
because I believe she did call them, and they never even talked to her or anything. And I do believe there was like a verification that she did call on the dispatch calls that she had called and gave this information to somebody, and that they never called her back.
Right.
I do believe there is a call out there for that. One of these days we should do a spreadsheet that has an explanation of each call in it.
Oh, what yours had proposed? Yeah, that would be a great project. Yeah, that would be a great project. It would be, it would take. I mean, for one person to do it,
if you're out there, I'll help you.
Yeah, where's yours at? I know it's late where he's at, but come on, man, come on, yours.
That's right.
We need to wheel him.
We need you.
We need to wheel him in. But that would be it would take many of us to do. You have to be when you sign up for it, you'd have to really be positive you want to get involved because man, it's the CASO. The CASO file. I mean, the CASO dispatch alone. I mean, there's so many calls in the CASO dispatch that really are, they can be disregarded because they're ambulance channels. They're the fire, the fire department channel. So they don't really apply.
People calling about burning bushes and stuff like that.
I think the hardest part of doing that would be weeding out the calls you don't need.
Well, there are a lot of them. There's so many that are really unrelated. So, then you latch on to somebody calls us, oh, about the missing persons girl, I've got some information. And then, you got to stop. You got to notate which call it is. And it would be a lot of work. a lot of work, absolutely. But it could be done.
Right.
Get the right bunch together. So really, to me, the question here now becomes: is it truthful what she's saying that Teresa was out driving at that point in time, 11:35 a.m.?
I don't think so.
Well, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But in this case, I don't think she's lying about it. I think she's just mistaken on what
Mistaken
she said.
on the day or time.
She's calling her, leaving her message, and Teresa's calling her back. She's calling back other people too that left messages that morning. Plus, she's looking up her maps at that time, so I don't think she was actually in her car. She may have said that, I can't do it today because I'm off to do my work. Let me check my schedule. I have, I do Auto Trader on Mondays, and I have a job. I have a job I'm doing today, and she just mistakenly took that as her actually being in the car.
Possible.
So I kind of,
Well,
I give a low for this Brady. I mean, 'cause I
Well,
think it can be
you
okay,
extremely
Yoris, you're
You-
out there. Come on.
you
come
had
on
a
in.
you had a
You see
reason
'em.
for that, right, Jinx? Because of the timing of the
Yeah.
maps she was
Yeah,
printing out.
she did. Yep.
Yeah. Well, Bethany says yes. Why Ellie was so pissed about the sightings of TH? People couldn't have seen her after the 31st. Right. Okay.
Have been someone else printing out those maps?
What happened was her maps were mapped in. She had
MapQuest.
mapped on the 10th of October. She did a hustle shot for Avery, and she knew she was going to Avery's, but she had another job that day too that she did not know where she was going. So she had mapped an address from Avery's to someone else's. And later, when they do the thing, they do their little computer analyst thing with Mike Velli. He writes that somebody re-accessed the map from Avery's on the 21st of October, just a week or so before she goes missing. And she's said to be at a party or going to a party dressed as a cowgirl that night. She's pinging out in Green Bay. If she didn't have her computer with her, someone at her house checked her computer. That's my thought on that. I don't think anybody else actually printed out any of her maps.
Yeah, and to me, as we all know, Teresa had a Palm Pilot. So to me, that if she was actually out somewhere doing something, it'd just been much easier for her to pop that information into her Palm Pilot, and then later when she gets back home, she just plug that thing up to her computer and print out a new calendar or whatever with whatever information. I just don't know that. I don't know. I mean, just because a lot of things hinge. What time did she leave her house? That's really what it comes down to. When did she leave?
Well,
Actually,
we know that she called Steve Schmidt.
Yep.
At 12:51 and told him she was on her way.
That's right.
Now, just earlier, she had the Speckman call just 5 minutes earlier. And he says she was in her car in Sheboygan. That we can tell is not true because of the pinging towers by her house. She's always pinging her house tower.
Well, and that was
tower by her house during that time.
Was a pretty good haul from where she lived to to Sheboygan. That's a pretty good drive.
Right. So we know that Speckman's wrong about where she was, but maybe with Speckman's call, I can say, well, maybe she was in the car with her because she had just left. She says she's leaving just 5 minutes later. So was she sitting in her driveway in the car, or was she still at her desk? That all plays into that day planner stuff, but
right.
I feel like because her pinging towers all that morning were at home, and she was just checking her voicemail for the first time at like 11:04, and she had several voicemails that morning. She called
That's
back
right.
Someone named Morrow at like 11:25, hung up with him, called back to Denise
Yep.
Coakley at the time, now Heitl, and so I feel like she's just mistaken on her being in her car, but I could be wrong too. So
Well, I mean, the timing was though because of the other calls after that. It just seems weird to me that she was. I guess it could happen, but it just seems odd to me that she would be in her car at that early stage of the day and not had already called Schmidt. Right, that was her first stop. So I don't know. I give this one a lower rating as far as the Brady.
So do I.
maybe it could happen, but I just don't feel strongly that it did.
Yeah, I'm not very confident of it either.
Any other comments? Alice, you had your mic off a minute ago, and BB and Susan. Anybody? Oh, there's Sammy. Is Sammy here? Nope, Sammy's still not here. She disconnected and reconnected.
Well, she's been connecting on and off, so I don't know if she's having trouble connecting.
Yeah, she's been popped in and out there a couple of times I saw, so hopefully she can get it resolved.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
She's just sleeping and
oh,
pressing buttons.
Yours says she also printed routes to Zips and Schmitz at 11:40 after the Denise C call.
Right, and so she's sitting at her computer mapping out her day. She like what this is, she knows Zip's address at 11:40 a.m. And just after that, she's also calling Janda at 11:43 a.m. So this is just her, like, to me, she gets up at 11 o'clock, checks her
Right.
voicemail. She probably slept
Right.
in that morning, starts making her day. She's probably sitting at her desk doing that, in my opinion.
That makes sense. Yeah, that does.
Yeah.
Bethany says, who called in the hustle shop for the zippers when they have to check to locate that number?
That wasn't a hustle
Which
shot.
it wasn't
It
a
wasn't
hustle
a
shot.
hustle
That was
shot.
that was a
what they call
telemarketer. That was a telemarketer lead.
Yes.
And
Where you print
telemarketer
you print a thing in the newspaper saying you're selling your car, and they see it because they monitor and watch all newspapers in areas where they have auto trader businesses set up, and then they call you and say, hey, if you don't sell it on the newspaper site,
Are you interested in?
you can list it with us. Yeah.
Call, yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is the same way that Avery got contacted by Zipper or by the auto trader. He was also a lead shot the very first time. He had put an ad in the
several
paper,
months earlier.
And that was in January of 2005. And they called him and they set up that first appointment. So, the you can actually hear Avery talking about it on one of the calls between him and his friend. I think it's call 653 in his, and it's probably like 48 minutes in or so, and you can go hear that if you really need to hear that. But so
Bethany says
it's just someone at a telemarketing services. They hire someone at telemarketing services to go through ads all over the country for people who are posting cars and other things they sell in Auto Trader, and they call them and make the appointment through there, and then somebody comes out, and then you can either become a customer, or you can just say, nah, I'm not going to have it posted.
Yeah, they'll send a photographer out. They'll call and they say, hey, yeah, they'll call.
I think somebody said. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Somebody once said it was out of Florida even.
It was a Florida telemarketing.
Yeah.
And she did Manitowoc area, so they sent Teresa Halbach because that was her area. No one else did Manitowoc, so when they called about him, it would automatically go to Teresa.
So
she would be the one to go take the picture.
So the telemarketer, in other words, when they called a certain area, it automatically went through Auto Trader and went to that person who takes a picture, because I think that's what Bethany's trying to ask.
Well, yeah, whoever the photographer is for photographers cover a certain area.
Okay,
so that would so if that would have went to maybe Brown County or even beyond that, it could have been a different photographer for Auto Trader. It wouldn't have been Teresa.
Yeah.
Well, she did the Sheboygan area, the Manitowoc area, and the Green Bay areas, from what I understand.
So that's what I'm saying. It would have went to
those are her areas. If she got a lead for one of those areas, it would automatically go to Teresa.
And she said, "But who set it up?"
Well, I'm sure those telemarketing leads will go to the Auto Trader office, and then they set up the photographer. So
that's correct.
She actually got the lead from Auto Trader.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, she said it's possible she stopped for gas, pulled over, stopped for gas. Again, it is possible that Teresa was out. We can't prove that she wasn't. But based on the other cell tower pings at her house. It just seems to me like, as Jinxie and others have indicated, that she was sitting at her computer. She wrote down the information, and maybe the lady just got it wrong. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to influence anybody. People are free to choose it.
And it
however
does,
they
and
think.
it does not mean that she did not take that piece of paper in her car when Speckman called
That's right.
before she's leaving.
That's
She
right.
may have already been in her car driving when Speckman called, pulled over, stopped, told him I'm on my way out to that area, and then kept going, called Schmidt shortly
yeah.
after that call
That's
and
right.
said I'm on my way. And she was there sometime between, like, what was it, 110 and 120 or something.
That's
he
right.
said,
Yeah, that's right.
which would have been right because he took about 20 minutes to get there from her house, if I remember Google mapping it.
Yeah. So we need to. Will, is yours coming in? Come on,
I
yours.
think he said he's tired.
Well, I mean, I'll give you my coffee. I mean, I can make you my coffee. It's not a problem, really. I don't want to give you any, beer yet. That'll come toward the end. I'll give him a couple of those, couple of stouts or whatever. Maybe a Guinness if he likes. Okay, so I think is everybody good with Heitl before we move on to our next let me get this turned on here. Our next Brady. This one's going to take longer just because of the nature of what it is. Is everybody good before I move on?
We're good.
Okay. So our next Brady is the Dassey-Janda CD. And this one is of great interest to me, and I know it is to a lot of people, just because of the nature of how things flowed out with how the information was handled. So let's let me pull it over here. I'm going to be pulling up DCI report 304. And I've got some stuff highlighted, and I want you to pay attention to the dates, because the dates are important to me, and the fact of as to when the report was written and reality when the events occurred. So that's going to pull in a second. So this report was written on December 7th, 2006, right? But if you move down just a little bit lower, you'll see the occurrence is on 4/21/2006. So everybody can do the math. It's approximately 7.5 months later. Let's just say 8 months to be rounded up. Basically, this is the incident where I didn't include the search warrant because it's really not part of what we're going to be looking at. But basically, Fassbender received information from Candy Avery that there was information on the Janda computer that that's a computer that may be of interest, and so based on that, and this is kind of this is to me was a little bit odd because it appears that he applied for the search warrant in Manitowoc. We have the search warrant. Again, I didn't pull it up because it's less relevant. But they applied for a search warrant, obviously, and went into the Dassey house. And I'll read some of this, and there's some more of this that I'm going to read. I'm not going to read probably every bit of it, but I'm going to read some of it here, so we kind of have our bearings on, kind of what's going on. And I have real issues here. So anyway, on Friday, April 21st, 2006, pursuant to a search warrant, Special Agent Tom Fassbender and Investigator Mark Wiegert, the Calumet County Sheriff's Department seized a personal computer, CPU, and 12 CDRs from the residence of Biochemistry. On Saturday, April 22nd, 2006, Special Agent Fassbender transferred said items to Detective Mike Bailey of the Grand Chute Police Department for forensic examination. On Thursday, May 11, 2006, Detective Bailey returned said items to Special Agent Fassbender for subsequent return to Biochemistry. Special Agent Fassbender subsequently received from Detective Bailey materials pertaining to his computer analysis of the hard drive and CDRs. This included numerous hard copy pages of instant messages conversations from the hard drive and the CD titled Dassey's Computer File Report Investigative Copy. The CD contained information on websites and images from the hard drive. Also provided by Detective Bailey were 6 6 DVD plus Rs containing a copy of the hard drive. This is where they ghosted the hard drive basically, and that was done with Case 2, which is a proprietary program that you got to have that in order to unlock those CDRs to look at it. A copy of the hard drive. Special Agent Fassbender examined the items received and made the following observations. I'm not going to read through all that because it's not pertinent. This is him, them going, trying to go after Stephen through Brendan. This is what this is all about, in my opinion. Others may have a different opinion. Anyway, it continues on. He's talking about the various things that they found. But what's important here is at the end, the disc received from Detective Belly, as well as the hard copy pages of the instant messages, conversations, were maintained in Special Agent Fassbender's possession. And to me, that's extremely important. And this is the crux of the violation. We can go forward here back to the brief, and we can read a little bit more. This is on page. Give me just a moment here. Let me get forwarded up here on pages so we can kind of take a look at it. 49. I think we're close here. Nope, I went too far. Okay, so this is item G in Zellner's brief, and it says Brady violation, RE Dassey-Janda CD. On April 17, 2018, current post-conviction counsel received the Detective Belly's CD for the first time from Prosecutor Fallon. I want to explain something here before I move forward. All this time, none of Avery's defense counsel had ever had this CD. And this CD that Belly created was basically, you just open it up and it had everything right there. You didn't have to have any special programs to view it. All PDF files, or however, Word files, photos, everything lined out, and the various folders. I would imagine. So no one had this, and it clearly contained things that that could have been used at trial, at least to impeach or in minimum rebut Bobby's testimony, and also. And I didn't pull it up. It may even be, I don't know if it's in this supplement or not, but it's in one of her supplements about Kratz had created the stipulation project. I hope everybody here remembers what that is. This was a project that Ken Kratz came up with in January of 2000. I think it actually started maybe late December of 2006, but it really had footing in early January 2007 to try to minimize how much they had to present at trial. So they wanted as many stipulations as they could to save time, things that were redundant and didn't need people to testify. And one of these stipulation projects was basically they didn't want Belly on the stand. And Kratz went so far as to say there was nothing relevant on Brendan's computer. He called it Brendan's computer. Yeah, right. Clearly it wasn't. At minimum,
nothing much of evidentiary value.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So, he's trying to minimize that damage. So,
he didn't want nobody to hear nothing that could have maybe pointed somewhere else.
That's right. Reasonable doubt at minimum, right?
Exactly.
So that, with Fassbender keeping the CD and the 2,400 page report to himself all this time. Now you're talking about, let's think about April 21st, or I'm sorry, May 11th, May 11th, 2006 until what's the date here? April 17th, 2018. So I think everybody can kind of do the math and say it's 11 years or 11 years.
Yeah, almost 12, 11, 12,
12 years.
12.
Yeah. 12 years.
I said 12 years, yeah.
That's right, 12 years. I added a year there. So, 12 years, that's correct. So, no one on Avery's defense had ever seen this, nor Brendan's defense as well.
And they hope they never would.
Absolutely.
They never would.
That's
I mean,
And don't
what
forget that
detective
Kratz.
keeps a freaking Valley CD in his desk, in his pocket, at home, in his closet, lockbox, wherever
In
he
his underwear
decided to.
drawer.
Whatever.
In his
I
underwear
mean,
drawer.
when do
what
you
was
hear of that happening?
what was that, Susan?
I was just gonna say, don't forget that Kratz named it Brendan's computer.
He did.
Yeah.
He did
Yeah.
name it. Nothing of evidentiary value, but we know that's
Yeah.
not true. All right, so let's move on and read some more of this. The CD contained Detective Bailey's forensic examination of the Dassey-Janda computer. On May 18, 2018, current post-conviction counsel filed a motion of supplemental record to the appellate court with the CD. On June 11, 2018, the appellate court remanded the case to the circuit court with instructions that this appeal is remanded forthwith to the circuit court to permit Mr. Avery to pursue a supplemental post-conviction motion in connection with the Avery receipt of the previously withheld discovery or other new information. The appellate court further ordered that the circuit court shall conduct any necessary proceedings and enter an order containing its findings and conclusions within 60 days of the supplemental post-conviction motion is filed. On September 6, 2018, the circuit court denied Mr. Avery's motion to supplement, holding that the defense was in full possession of the same information as the prosecution via the 7 CDs turned over pursuant to discovery. The circuit court also determined that the CDs were turned over to trial counsel 2 months prior to trial. Whoop-dee-doo. They had it for 8 months, and then 2 months before trial, they handed them all this information. Therefore, the circuit court held that Mr. Avery had failed to meet his burden of showing the evidence was suppressed. The Dassey-Janda CD contained unique information not previously disclosed. The Brady obligation does not cease to exist at the moment of the conviction, but continues to apply to the plaintiff's post-trial assertion that he did not receive a fair trial because of the concealment of the exculpatory evidence known in existence at the time of trial. Thompson v. City of Chicago, you can read the rest of them there. The circuit court erred when it concluded that the CD contained exactly the same information as the 7 CDs, so nothing was suppressed. The CD contained unique information derived from Detective Bailey's application of specific Halbach crime scene facts to the raw data in the 7 CDs. The 7 CDs did not contain the results of Detective Bailey's unique search terms found exclusively on the CD. I'm not going to read all the search results because they can get pretty bad there, but it is undisputed that the results of the unique word searches of Detective Bailey were suppressed and withheld from the trial defense counsel, prior post-conviction counsel, and current post-conviction counsel until April 17, 2018. Because there was no possible way prior to April 17, 2018 that current or prior counsel could have guessed the specific search terms and the results which Detective Bailey obtained, Mr. Avery was deprived of his material information, which could have established a direct link between specific evidentiary terms related to the Halbach murder and the searches performed on the Dassey-Janda computer. The CD also contained states recovered pornography images relevant and material to the Halbach murder. The CD contained 14,099 images on the 7 DVDs, and recovered 1,625 violent pornography images, which had been deleted. It goes on there. Everybody kind of gets the picture here. I'm not going to read all that. Failure to disclose the CD prior to the Denny ruling. The circuit court ignored current post-conviction counsel's argument that the trial defense counsel was completely impaired in its ability to effectively identify a motive in its Denny motion filed on January 8, 2007 before trial. Let's move on here. Nothing evidence may be considered impermissible withheld if the prosecution failed to disclose the evidence before it was too late for the defendant to make use of the evidence. The circuit court abused its discretion when it ignored Mr. Avery's argument that his Denny motion was compromised by the late disclosure of the state and chose to focus only on the disclosure of the 7 DVDs 2 months before trial. Trial defense counsel, Mr. Buting, provided an affidavit to current post-conviction counsel explaining the effect of the date disclosure on the success of the trial. Defense counsel's motion regarding establishing the motive of Bobby. Mr. Buting states, I'm not going to read through all that again. So here we are. Wow. I mean, to me, this CD and the accompanying report that Fassbender kept, I just don't know what to think about it, really. It just blows my mind that how this information was decidedly okay to keep for the state, not turn it over to the defense, despite the fact they turned over the 7 DVDs, the ghosted image, again, that were encrypted. It did not have Veli's results that the state, they had all that at their fingertips. So I think that, to me, this is a strong Brady. It's a very strong Brady, in my opinion. And now I'll let.
Oh my gosh, yes, it is. I believe so too. I don't see how it couldn't be. I mean, it was purposely kept away. Kratz went out of his way to make sure certain things, weren't going to be in. And of course, this has a lot to do with it. I mean, I'm just blown away that Kratz went to all that trouble, just to make sure everything wasn't seen. And this doesn't have no evidentiary here. I'm mind boggled.
Well, here's another.
You kind of skipped over it, but the fact that they did not turn over that information, like they're saying they gave it 2 months before trial, but
isn't it?
Yeah, that was after the Denny trial, like the Denny portion of it, where they tried to bring Denny's in and they refused them, and had that information at that portion of the trial or pre-trial hearing. They may have been able to use that as a Denny suspect.
Yeah, let me clarify that. You're right. Just so everybody understands. In June, I think it was around the middle of June 2006. It's about a month after Fassbender was given this Belly CD. Ken Kratz filed the Denny motion. The hearing did not take place until January of 2007. It was months later to allow.
So they only had like 4 weeks to look at that information that was not easily accessible through the DVD backups.
Yes.
And didn't have Valley's actual search terms that he looked for.
No.
Which I didn't even realize that, like, that part of it. Like,
well,
that would be interesting to know what they're looking for on a computer to see if there's any relevance, and then they find all that stuff and suppressed it anyway.
I think just as importantly, the Denny motion that Willis held at the state's request, it was an in-camera hearing. We've talked about this before. In-camera means the public was excluded from the courtroom. Now, it was recorded, obviously, for posterity, and there was a court reporter in the room. We have the transcript. However, the state, they felt so, and Willis said in his however many years he'd been on the bench, he had never had an in-camera motion, ever. He wanted everything in the public view, to his credit. That's amazing. But for him, this it clearly kind of made him uncomfortable. He did it, but this wasn't really the thing type of thing that he condoned. But at the state's request, he did do it, which I thought was interesting anyway. But that's beside the fact. This was January. This, like Jinx said, it's like 4 weeks before trial. They're having this in-camera Denny motion, and if they'd have been armed with this CD, which would have, or this, the Bailey CD final report, it would have been so easy for them to click. They would have had all that information, bam, right away.
Yeah, they would have gotten Bobby as a Denny, for sure.
Probably. Because, this passage here, this is page 57. Importantly, the CD timeline of the internet searches directly contradicts Bobby's trial testimony that on October 31, he was asleep from 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Mr. Hunt determined that the internet on the Dassey-Janda computer was accessed on October 31st, 2005, when only Bobby was home at 6:05 a.m., 6:28, 6:31, 7, 9:33, 10:09, 1:08 p.m. This is after Teresa left the when was that voicemail left, Jinx? Do you remember? 11 something? 11 something she called? Do you remember?
Who? Denise Heitl?
No. when
Teresa.
Teresa left a voice message on the Dassey phone.
That was 11:43
Thank you.
a.m.
So 1:08 p.m. He's we're looking here. Is it 10 o'clock? 1 p.m. 1:51 p.m. This impeaches Bobby's trial testimony that he was asleep from 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. So again, this goes back to impeaching and rebutting Bobby's testimony that the restraining and beating didn't have. So I'll let you guys talk. I'll kind of talk
I
about
just really
that.
want to say,
Just
Go
the
ahead.
fact that Kratz was so sneaky about it, and the stipulation naming it Brendan's computer, and Fassbender holding on to that. I mean, it's just, to me, it just glares. That they knew
I
this
also wanna make-
yeah,
would ruin their whole case. Yeah.
that
make
is
a
exactly
point
what I was
about-
going to say.
The Fassbender did not actually hold on to the CD for 12 years. It wasn't his death until
no.
I think
Yeah.
it came
that's
back
right.
to it came back to the Calumet County evidence locker.
After the
I think it
trials.
was in
Yeah, I was just joking.
April 2007 or something, but yes, he did keep it in until after trial. I just wanted
Yes.
to mention that. You guys would mention that earlier, so.
I think just the fact that they hide anything or they try to make something minimal than
Well,
it really is. It's just shady.
Let's think about it on these terms, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Now, personally, I consider that report, that CD, and that 2,400-page report, I consider that discovery material. Now, that's me. Now, not everybody sees it that. Not everybody sees it that way. As you can talk to many guilters, and they're like, "Oh, well, they had the the ghosted copy of the hard drive on those 7 DVDs." But that was a unique report. So,
Yep.
what do you guys think?
I agree
I
with you
agree.
100%. I really
Yeah.
do.
It
I
should be
agree.
actually 2 Brady's because they
Yep.
withheld not only the CD of the easy access thing, but also the report that he had written.
And
about it.
Yeah.
a name. Yeah, the name of it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Say that again, Linda.
Just the fact that they named it something other than what it was.
Oh,
Brendan's.
call it
They're trying
Brendan's
to be-
computer. Oh
right.
my
They're
God.
trying to be deceiving. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
it's just shady, shady, shady.
Well, I mean, I think
think
that kind of goes with their whole approach to these cases. There's just deceit, one lie after another, hide, manipulate.
and I mean, how can that just keep going on in court like that, where they know they got something like that, and then they're going to try to make it so they don't have to bring in so much because it just might not be relevant. Well, how do you know if it's relevant or not?
Qualified
You know, I
immunity.
mean,
They know it
Yeah,
was
I mean,
relevant, for God's sake.
Oh,
exactly, Susan.
I
Thank you
think
very
you're-
much.
I think you're right, Susan. They knew how
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah, because
They
they
knew
would.
it was so relevant that it was Kratz who brought the information to the judge about these Denny suspects before the defense even did, right?
Right?
So
That's right.
and that was just 1 month after he had seen the Velli report, and he knew that Bobby would have made a good Denny, so that's when he went and stuck
Yep.
Oh,
And that they couldn't. They couldn't.
the motion to not call Denny suspects because he
Yeah,
knew at that moment that Bobby was a great Denny suspect.
What's that, Disco?
Oh yeah.
Well, because they didn't use, even though they called it Brendan's computer, they didn't use it against him in trial. Because if they could have fit it on Brendan,
Isn't
they
that
would
interesting?
have.
Isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
There is.
That's a great point, and I'm glad you made it.
Thank you.
Well,
But like that's why it's like, so they were aware of it, definitely.
Let's take one more
But
step
they
there.
know
Now
they
that,
didn't use it.
now that you brought that up, think about this. So here we are, May 11th, May 10th, whatever. Fassbender gets this CD, and I'm sure they're spent half the damn night looking at the CD and like, oh my God, what have we done? What do we got here? And then Brendan's going for his motion hearing to get his with Judge Fox on May the 12th to get this coerced confession thrown out, and of course Fox denies it, and of course Kaczynski and O'Kelly are ready to pounce. Of course, I'm sure, I feel positive they were in cahoots with Kratz and the whole gang of setting Brendan up on that afternoon, which is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So then, okay, they're, of course, it doesn't appear that O'Kelly knew anything about the CD and all the searches and so forth. However, they get this interview set up for the next day with Fassbender and Wiegert, and they had the report. I'm sure Wiegert knew about it by that time. Not one question was asked about that computer. Not one.
Yeah.
I found that extremely interesting.
They just
Yeah,
wanted to brush it underneath the
Yeah,
rug.
they didn't
and
want to.
Tells you right
Yep.
there. They knew what they had.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think so too, and I think
so damn dirty.
I think this is one of the strongest Brady violations there is.
I agree.
Well, the bones to me, but this is good. This is a good one.
This is right up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows that they started hiding things and trying to change things right from the get-go. That's what it shows me.
Well, I'm sure if Kratz could have made this go away completely, he would have loved to have done that. Just gone. So, in this report 304, that brings up another. And I kind of commented on it, but Fassbender writes, this event happens in April. He doesn't write a report for 8 months. What does that mean? To me, that it's terrible. It's because in 8 months' time, how much can memory? I don't care how many notes you take. How much can memory be altered, and things just gotten incorrectly, just wrong? And of course, plus the end part of it was he kept it. He maintained possession. So
I seriously believe that police should have 7-hour days driving around or whatever, and then have 1 hour a day filling out paperwork every day.
okay, looks like we maybe have some
TTM's
questions.
got a phone. Well, TTM has a question. It says it's kind of crazy. What is the CASO report? What is it really? I've been around a couple of years and still don't really know what a CASO report really is. And part 2 of her question is it something they put together after the trials?
No.
Well,
The
CASO's an acronym. It's an acronym
For Calumet County Sheriff's Office Investigation Report.
Yeah, that's what it stands for. It's
Yeah.
It's the Calumet County Investigative Report, and it is a collection of reports that were, written and, to me, it's really badly put together because you can go through it by page, and you'll get to a certain date, and you go to the next page, and then it jumps back to a supplemental report to something that happened 4 months earlier. It's not well put together. Plus, it's also got the Dassey interviews in it, which to me, while they did happen during the course of the investigation in 2006, to me they belong in a separate report completely, and it's basically
and there's also
a couple hundred pages.
There's also the other one that's whatever for
MTSO.
Manitowoc. Yeah.
MTSO report. I also want to make a note of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department investigation report, the CASO. It is eventually dictated to a transcriber that is writing the report for them. Whether or not they gave their note to the transcriber or actually voice their dictation to them is unknown. But I think it's 200 and something pages in. There's one white page and there's nothing on it except the notification that from that point on, the reports are dictated and written out that way. In Discovery, they are sending some reports a little bit at a time. So it is being sent to the defense while they're being they wrote ones for November, sent them in March. They wrote some for March and sent them a couple months later.
Yeah.
So they are continually giving them this information. So the defense does have this information for
Oh.
trial, because this is how they decide,
Right.
determine on what they're bringing into trial to defend their client.
And the
Okay.
same thing should be noted while you're saying that these things were part of discovery, and Kratz was sending them to the defense. Also, DCI reports were treated the same way as he got them; they were submitted to the defense piecemeal. So
Okay.
go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, well, TTM wants to know, but why was it put together for who? And it isn't a lot of pages. So I think she just wants to know basically, why do you put a CASO report together? Who needs it? Who does it? And what is it for?
Well, you know,
It
it's
is supposed to be a recollection of what they're doing on their jobs. It's a report of the officer's doings in an investigation.
Okay,
That's why
is
it's
it-
put
is there a
together.
report
It's
for
put
the-
together for everybody, for their own protection and
Okay.
protection of the accused.
Okay, so do they put it together for like the department or for the courts, or is it
Or
just
like the
they're
courts, isn't
all
it?
together investigation into one particular thing? Is that what it is?
It's for the whole investigation. Even if you call
Okay.
the cops and say there's a cat dead on my street, a cop comes, calls the animal control. The cop still has to write a report about that tiny little incident. It's what he's
Correct.
doing.
It's an incident report.
And then they turn these over to the defense also.
When somebody's accused of a crime, that way they can.
Track what the
In all
officer's
reality,
done.
like Manitowoc only has 17 pages because they wanted to be less known. They were supposed to be recused from this case. They were not. They were only providing a piece of equipment. That's why you see so little in the Manitowoc. It's only like 17 pages long.
Yeah.
Not everybody was writing reports. Jacob should have been writing reports about
Most of
voicemail. He
most
never
of them
wrote
did.
reports.
Most of them didn't write reports for Manitowoc.
The human equipment, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
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 I
The
love
never
that,
named equipment.
Susan. I love
Yeah.
that.
What a joke.
Human
The
equipment.
framing
I love
equipment.
It. I love it.
Whatever was for the framing.
The best framing shop in the county.
That is the
And what
best
those would be good for
explanation.
is to
The miter saw.
Listen,
miter saw.
that is the best explanation I've ever heard, Susan. Reward for that. I mean, I'm not kidding you. The human.
But
I love it.
But you know, for TTM Fangirl, you know, I question it too, and the reason I do is because you know these reports. You know, you think about seeing some other reports that probably date back or maybe even to a different area. When I see a police report, it doesn't look like the CASO report. It's a much more detailed. It has kind of like the DCI reports. They kind of how they look. You know, they're boxed off. They got information here that specifically. The CASO report is almost more like a story, and it's a narrative. And I think that everybody can probably agree at certain points they got the dates wrong. They're just wrong.
Yeah, they lie.
Well, we know it's a narrative because they were narrating their
Right.
report to
Thank
someone
you.
else transcribing them.
Right.
Thank you.
And TTM's got 4 and 5 here too.
Do
So
it.
we'll just
Do
continue.
it. Read it.
So as the community, we call it the CASO report, but it's really tons of reports put together as one.
Yes.
Number 5 is there someone where I think
she means somewhere.
Somewhere, right, where we can read the whole entire report or reports.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's on the Foul Play website. It's just called
I'll put
CASO
that in there.
It's called CASO Investigator Report. There's also, when they reopened the investigation, there was also a CASO 2, 2017.
I call that case
And-
2.0.
And one of the pages were never turned in because Zellner didn't get it till way later. And didn't she get it from a member of the community or something?
Yeah,
who
that's
had
the
got a
Bones one.
Yeah, see, that was that goes back to
So there was
Steven's
one page that they left out that they hid, right?
It was actually a couple pages. It goes back to
there you go.
2011 when Hagopian was Steven's appellate attorney, and they were going through his appeals and so forth. She only had up to page 11, 13, or 14. I'm going to get the page numbers wrong without pulling it up and looking at it, but she had there was a couple of pages that they didn't have that hadn't been submitted yet. Of course, when Zellner took the case and out of 2016, Hagopian gave her everything she had. Those 2 pages about the bone giveaway, the garage sale they had, those 2 pages or 3 pages, whatever it was, were not in there. She didn't have it. And that's when a member of the community asked, or sent, maybe even sent Zellner the copy that we have, that we FOIA'd way back in 2016. And that's how the bone thing came about.
Right.
So
she says, yes, Jax. That's why I'm asking. So there's a 1 and a 2.
that's correct.
The one paper you're talking about, Linda, was something like after the initial crowdsourcing and Skip Top put all those on his site.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was 1,116 pages to the CASO.
And she got 1,115, right?
And there was 1,117, which was added in 2016. I think it was in December of 2016, sometime after her first motion was filed in August.
Yep.
That was not given to, the initial one because it wasn't written until after it was already released.
Exactly.
That one extra page. And then after that, they decided anything else we're investigating, we're doing on 2.0. Do you think that was because somebody actually went back and said, I want any extra pages for this report number?
Might have.
And that's why they opened a 2.0 and they were hoping to keep that from the public?
Yeah, all the things they tried to hide.
Because we didn't even know about 2.0 until one of her motions, if memory serves.
Yeah, and isn't that why they use the investigation continues, so they can limit the release of things? They're keeping it an open investigation.
That's what they
for the
say.
FOIAs.
Well, I know
I
the
don't know how they
Dever,
can reopen a case that they already have convictions for either. That's just weird.
Well, that's a question I asked a long time ago. Is there anywhere where I can see where it says case closed? Because we got 2 convictions. What are they investigating? What are they admitting that they missed all this other stuff in 2005, 6, and 7? Is that what they're saying?
They just don't want you to find it. They don't want you to see what they have. That's why they say it's an ongoing
Well,
case.
if you look at CASO 2.0, as Jinx calls it, if you look at the first page, I think it is, it's got a long list of people that they're going to talk to again. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well,
and all those
maybe they want,
most of those people were brought up in a motion from Kathleen Zellner in July of when she first named individual A and individual B, which was Ryan and Redant, I think, in July of 2017. Shortly
right.
after that, they start talking to everybody. Then she names Bobby. They go talk to Bobby and Barb later that year. They're investigating what Kathleen Zellner's claims are. It's like, well, you should already have answers to that because you should have investigated it in 2005, 2006, and they did not.
And their response every time to these motions that Kathleen has filed is procedurally barred.
Yeah, that's one of their favorite bylines there.
They don't even address.
They'll give an estoppel on that.
They don't even address the actual.
I don't know if I've got 2.0 on this computer or not. Let me look here and see if I've got CASO 2.0.
You're very right, Susan. That's really funny that they do that. Prosecutionally barred. When they're the ones that don't give the information, how is she supposed to know about it?
Yeah. I just want to know where's the paper that says case closed and then case reopened, right? It has to be somewhere.
Yeah. I'd love to see that too.
I'm seeing if I've got CASO 2.0 on this hard drive. It may be on my external drive. And
they even brought back retired Detective Deirdre, I'd probably say that wrong, to be the investigator for the CASO 2.0.
I do
Dietering.
Didring.
Whatever his name is, yeah.
Dedring, whatever.
We'll briefly take a little sidetrack here. I do have 2.0 on my computer. I've got it added here. So that's going to pop in from Dedering. And
Dedering?
given
That's how you pronounce it, right? Okay, I always see.
Well,
Ginger in there.
I call him Deadhead. So I'm just being
Deadhead.
nice because we're online. I'm just trying to be nice. So starting out, this is the first page of CASO 2.0, as we call it. As a result of the allegations, he's going back to Kathleen Zellner's post-conviction filing, and this is all the people that he interviewed. So he didn't have an actual. I don't see a date on here.
Oh, okay. So he interviewed everybody that came up in Kathleen's mind that she needed to check out again. I wonder why.
Well, yeah. Well, there's even some names here that I don't even remember. Like, of course, we know Kelly, and then this Adrian Walsinski. I don't remember that name. Robert Famal. I don't. And that we know Jolene, Carrie Hoops. We know Redance, Ashley Magers. I think that Kenneth Howland. Isn't that Teresa's friend? Jinx.
That's
Isn't
the guy that she sent porn magazines to. That was in the national. What do you call that?
The reserves.
The reserves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just noticing
National
Tom
Guard.
Pearce and them people like Tom
Carrie
Pearce,
Hoops was
Brian.
also her friend.
So I mean, there were several here that they went and talked to. Some of them again, and some of them I think for the first time. At least I don't remember seeing a report on several of these names at all. Maybe I'm just not remembering. But so anyway,
I don't recognize a lot of them names
listed,
myself.
They're not talked to.
Yeah. So that hopefully this TTM. Is there more questions? I want to make sure that she kind of understands.
She says, CASO 1.0 was formed in 2005, and CASO 2.0 was in 2017 for the new interviews for KZ came into town.
That's correct. You nailed it. That's exactly right.
CASO 1.0 was something that was being produced all the way up until 2016, and that last page of 1,117 was added to it in December of 2016. CASO 2.0 started after her first motion to name individuals as possible.
Probably July or August of 2017 is when 2.0 started. Yeah.
I noticed that
Deadering
didn't want to talk to Blaine. Blaine's not on the list.
Well, that's what
he may not have given his deposition or his affidavit at this time yet. So
I don't think he had. Not yet.
He made right after she filed her motion in 2017, which I believe was in June or July of 2017.
And just so TTM Girl knows this.
And they got hold of Mike Halbach because they wanted to check on that thing that Ryan had said about the insurance claim.
But
so they were looking for photos of the RAV with damage on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to ask. Are they putting this list together because what? A, they think they didn't do a good investigation. B, they're going to see if they got something to say other than what they put in their report.
Already said.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Are they trying to cover their ass?
Sure they are.
CYA, yes.
Maybe
CYA.
they're trying to remind these people of their lies.
Thank you, G.
So that
Thank you, Jinxie. Thank you.
Lie.
Yeah. What was Brian Dassey? Did he get an interview with Deadering as well? And at that time,
I don't remember him talking to Brian though.
Yeah, well, yeah, right there it is, Brian Dassey.
His name's on the list.
And this wasn't a played thing, correct?
Well, he's probably.
Did they actually talk to him?
Well,
I don't remember. I don't remember an interview with him. He might have declined. He had the right to decline.
So Bobby would have had the right to decline. Yeah.
Sure, he is. Oh yeah.
They're not being arrested.
They're not arrested. They're just being talked to.
Well,
when you're arrested, you have the right to decline to talk to them until you get a lawyer.
First, I want to say hello. I want to say hello to Sammy. Hi.
Hi.
Glad you got connected.
I finally made it in. I had a hard time getting in.
And we saw that. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think it's either Discord or the computers. Yeah.
Is CASO
Fangirl is asking. Yeah, that's what she's asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the photos that I think Kelly Plitzen provided. right? See that? There's Teresa's rab back there.
Yes, those are from her.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
CASO is
Those are
gotten by a
pictures
FOIA,
from
correct?
office.
What's that, Linda?
Is CASO gotten by a FOIA?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is a FOIA.
That's what TTM wanted to know. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that is a FOIA. There's the
Hey,
parking
Jack.
lot. Yep.
You wanted to see where it said the case was closed. And if you
No.
look on Wisconsin Circuit Court Access, case status is closed for Stevens trial.
Okay, did it say closed in 2007? That's what I'm wanting to know.
All it has is the filing date. It doesn't have the date that it was closed.
That's
It says closed / appeal. And case is cross-referenced with the new case number, which is 2016 when
Okay.
that opened.
So apparently it was, I mean, just based on that, it was closed at some point, but they're continuing
Yes.
to add stuff. They're continuing to add things to the CASO report. So it's kind of closed. I mean, it just kind of comes across to me. The entire thing kind of says it's closed, but we're just going to kind of keep piling stuff in, I'm looking for, there it is. Brian did give an interview. Beginning of 11/3/2017. So he did talk. Anyway, we're getting off the beaten path here a little bit. So anyway, hopefully this kind of helps explain to TTM fangirl the entire, the whole thing about the CASO report and that kind of thing. So is she saying anything? Did she say that helped out?
No, she
Okay.
keeps saying thank you,
Ellie,
though.
you guys are awesome. I feel like it's such a blonde, but I have always
Oh.
wondered why this report was referenced.
Oh,
And TTM fangirl, you can always come into our
Yeah.
Discord.
absolutely. You're always welcome to come in, and we'll explain as much as we can. I mean, it's not required.
Hey,
It's just
look, you know what? I
No,
don't care
but-
how long you've been in this case and how long you've been listening, watching, and looking for information. All the questions are necessary. I don't care
Yeah.
how small or how silly you might think they are. They really are important. And there might be a lot of people listening now who were unaware of all of this too.
That's right.
Or who listen next week or the week after, or
The better we can help
Exactly.
people that follow the case to understand elements and even how procedure works, the process works. It all helps in the long term.
And we're all still learning too as we go. Almost every day we find
yeah.
out something new or learn something new. Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. So, okay.
And there's
so,
always still reports being released that have never been seen by masses,
That's
depending
true.
on the FOIA.
Well, when that's a goal of a lot of us that we want to get reports and these kinds of things that the cops used, the prosecutors used, that maybe even the defense had access to, and just didn't really look at it that close. Didn't pay that much attention. They didn't. I'm going back. I don't want to get too far off into what the trial attorneys didn't do or did do, but the limitations of their office from a money standpoint, they couldn't hire big staff, and the state had 3 prosecutors and huge staff of people, paralegals, and then they had 3 or 4 or 5 law enforcement agencies behind them. Then they had the crime lab behind them. This reached all the way up to the AG's office because Fallon was there. So my God, they had whatever they needed. So these things getting out to the masses, it's been really important, and piecing together what we feel that the state did to get their conviction. I mean, I just don't think that. Sure, I don't know of anything that any lawyers could have done really that would have prevented Steven and Brendan from being convicted because of just how they did it. Just because of the actions of the state. So
yeah, it's a pre-planned thing. They planned it all. They did. I
Sure.
mean, when they're doing this kind of thing, they plan for ahead. They might have been working on the cuff, you know what I'm saying, about doing things. But when it come down to the appeals and what they were going to do legally, they made sure their ass was covered. I've said this for a long time, just
That's
by
their
little teeny things.
that was their controlled environment, was the courtroom. Once the
Exactly.
judges were in the pockets, it's a
Yep.
controlled environment.
I
I
just think
agree.
I just think about all the lies and the inaccuracies, the manipulation that that they did to try to convince people that how bad Brendan was and how bad Steven was and the family. Just drag them through the dirt and through the mud. Poor people lose. Poor people lose all the time. And this is something that Steven said that I think is true. So that's another part of the advocacy for from my standpoint. At some point we're all going to leave here, but what we leave behind for our children and our families and our friends, hopefully, is a better place than how these things are handled by the people we put in office to handle them. I've said for a long time that the laws are only as good as the people there to enforce them. So if you got a bunch of good people enforcing the laws that are on the books, they're not going to be sitting around like these guys clearly did. Fallon is a really intelligent guy. I don't care what anyone says. He's a dick, but he's an absolute dick. But the guy is extremely smart in ways to figure ways around their current laws and statutes that they had to get around these landmines, and we're able to
he's a
skirt by.
very
Yeah.
skilled lawyer. Definitely knows all the in holes and out holes and loopholes and
Yep.
the law in the best Wisconsin for sure.
I
I
agree.
agree.
All right. So are we good with the Dassey-Janda CD when we move on to our last Brady before we move into our potential last Denny suspect? Because we got a little bit of time to spend with Mr. Pearce before, so that's going to take a little time. So is everybody good to go with Mr. Sowinski's affidavit and talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
I think we're ready.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I've got it pulled up here. This is Sowinski's affidavit, this is Zellner's filing that she filed. Defendant's appellant's motion to stay in appeal remand for petitioner to file a supplemental post-conviction motion disclosing new evidence of a Brady violation and a third-party Denny suspect. I'll just read out the Brady violation. Number 1, on April 11, 2021, a new witness, Thomas Sowinski, Mr. Sowinski, came forward to Mr. Avery's current post-conviction counsel and attested to the following. Mr. Sowinski was a motor route driver for Gannett Newspapers Incorporated and delivered papers to the Avery salvage yard in the early morning hours of November 5th of 2005. Prior to delivering the newspapers to the Avery salvage yard, he turned onto the Avery property and witnessed 2 individuals, a shirtless Bobby Dassey and an identified older male suspiciously pushing a dark blue RAV4 down Avery Road towards the junkyard. The RAV4 did not have its lights on. After Mr. Sowinski drove by Bobby and the other individual and delivered the newspapers to the Avery mailbox, he turned around and drove back towards the exit. When he reached the RAV4, Bobby attempted to step in front of his car to block him from leaving the property. Mr. Sowinski was within 5 feet of Bobby, and his headlights were on Bobby during this entire time. Mr. Sowinski swerved into a shallow ditch to escape Bobby and exit the property. After Mr. Sowinski learned that Teresa Halbach's car was found later in the day on November 5, 2005, he realized the significance of what he had observed and immediately contacted the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office and spoke to a female officer, reporting everything he had stated in his affidavit. The officer said, "We already know who did it." Mr. Sowinski provided his phone number and was told that the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office would contact him, but never did. Attached and incorporated herein is Group Exhibit 1, is Mr. Sowinski's affidavit and a photograph he marked on the location of the RAV4. Bobby was the state's primary witness against Mr. Avery at his trial. During his opening statement, Prosecutor Kratz explicitly informed the jury of the significance of Bobby's putative observations of the date of Miss Halbach's disappearance. You're going to hear Bobby Dassey, the last citizen that will have seen Teresa Halbach alive. Number 3, At trial, Bobby testified that he observed Ms. Halbach's vehicle pull up in his driveway at 2:30 p.m. on October 31, 2005. Bobby was then observed Ms. Halbach exit her vehicle and start taking pictures of his mom's maroon van right in front of his trailer. Bobby testified that he then observed Ms. Halbach walking towards the door of Mr. Avery's trailer. The following exchange occurred between Prosecutor Kratz and Bobby. Question: after seeing this woman walking toward your Uncle Steven's trailer, did you ever see this woman again? Answer: no. Number 4, Bobby then testified that he took a 3 or 4 minute shower and then left his trailer to go hunting. Bobby walked to his Chevy Blazer, which was parked between the trailer and the garage. Bobby testified that as he walked to his vehicle, he observed Miss Halbach's vehicle still parked in the driveway. Bobby further testified that he did not see Miss Halbach or any signs of her. Bobby testified that when he returned to his trailer around 5-ish, Miss Halbach's vehicle was gone. Number 5. During his closing argument, Prosecutor Kratz once again emphasized the importance of Bobby's testimony and vouched for his credibility. We talked more about the timeline, and we heard from Bobby Dassey again in the same kind of position to be his credibility to be weighed by you, but is an eyewitness. And again, an eyewitness without any bias. It is an individual that deserves to be given a lot of credit, because sometime between 2:30 and 2:40, he sees Teresa Halbach. He sees her taking photographs. He sees her finishing the photo shoot, and he sees her walking up towards Uncle Steve's trailer. Number 6, to establish a Brady violation, a defendant must demonstrate that 1, the prosecution expressed evidence, 2, the evidence was favorable to the defense, and 3, the evidence was material to an issue at trial. And you can see the citations there. This court reviews de novo whether the facts of a case established a Brady violation. You can see the more citations. There can be a due process violation irrespective of the good faith or bad faith of the prosecution. The prosecution's duty is to disclose evidence favorable to the accused, includes the duty to disclose impeachable evidence as well as exculpatory evidence. The state suppressed the evidence of Mr. Sowinski's report to the Manitowoc Sheriff's Office that he had witnessed Bobby and another individual in possession of and moving Ms. Halbach's vehicle onto the salvage yard after Ms. Halbach's disappearance and prior to her vehicle's discovery. The suppressed evidence from Mr. Sowinski was favorable to the defense and material to the pivotal issue at trial because it would have, 1, destroyed the entirety of the credibility of Bobby as the state's primary witness, 2, established that Bobby was directly involved in the murder of Ms. Halbach, and 3, established that Bobby planted evidence to frame his uncle, Mr. Avery. And I think that's enough. I think from there we can take it and debate the final points of what we think about it. And I'll just give my short opinion is that if it's true, if he in fact did call, saw this whatever, and he called and made this report, it would have been recorded. There's no doubt about it. And if they had it, there we go. So, in my opinion, they need a phone record. Opinions?
And we know that they picked and chose which phone calls they were going to give to the defense that they did not give to the defense until it was referenced by Remaker in a pretrial hearing, even about the calls from the Manitowoc part of this case, that they went and picked and chose which ones they gave. So there's no way of telling because they only have to keep them, what'd you say, 3 years for audio?
Yep.
So there's no way of knowing because they didn't hand over everything from that time period that was coming into Manitowoc for at least for that week that they were part of the investigation on the property. They, it's a possibility that he did call and they just made sure not to put that on the record. And I think the only way we'll know if he called is if he can somehow find his old record of calling there and it shows it on his phone record, or some kind of archive record would be good. It would be Denny in that respect.
I 100% agree. They need a phone record in the worst way. Other opinions? Thoughts? Concerns? we talked about this before, when it came out, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think it's really important that they somehow find an old phone record, to give his affidavit some integrity, because otherwise it's really, you're really leaning a lot to hearsay. I mean, in my opinion, because you got to be able to back it up. Not saying he's
And
lying.
if he does have that, then I think it's a very good Denny.
Yeah,
Because they maintain that the rat never left the property.
that's right.
For me, though, it's not
Yeah.
a great Denny. It's actually, unless he can actually prove what he saw because of the
Well,
changing of his stories. His
he can't.
story is going to be hard to prove, but
Yeah,
they may be able to
Well,
prove
regardless
the
if it's
Brady.
Bobby or not. I mean, if it's whoever it is.
yeah, that's right. Maybe
Yeah,
it wasn't Bobby.
correct.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, Jinx. Maybe it wasn't Bobby. Maybe it was, somebody.
I
That,
don't
Raises
I don't
doubt.
yeah, I don't think for 1 minute that she's going to put something like that out there and no have anything to back it up.
well,
I always thought it was
She
quite.
has his affidavit.
what's that, Disco?
Like we do. You said that we have the calls on the 3rd and the 5th, but not the 4th. And the
That's
reason
right.
is because we don't have to keep them, but we have the sequential,
Yeah,
other calls.
right.
And I just sometimes think it's, I'm not saying that he would have called on the 4th, but it might highlight why do they not have those calls. Say he did call on the 4th, and is it her just highlighting, well, why haven't you got these calls? Because she does say the reason they don't have them is they didn't give them to her. Isn't that what she uses in her reply?
Right.
You know.
There's nothing. We have nothing
Which
for
is
the
what
fourth.
which the Brady would be. They didn't
Mhm.
hand over this call to her. That would be a
Right.
Brady violation.
To the defense.
Or
Yeah.
to any of the defense.
Right.
I'm not
So-
trying to say that she's kind of smoked them out, but it does draw attention to that time frame and what calls are there and what's not. And I thought that was quite interesting.
Well, it is suspicious. You pointed that out. We got the 3rd, the 5th through the 12th, but nothing for the 4th. It's really, it points to a bad thing. And again, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I just know that in my mind, they need a phone record to give the affidavit, whether it's Bobby or not, any credibility at all. They got to have some kind of record to link it.
Well, she does say in that summary or motion or whatever it is that he supplied the emails, but somewhere she says, but not limited to. Like she
Yes.
has other information.
Yes, she does say that.
Yeah.
Well, and Stuart Hodson said they asked the neighbor what time he had his paper delivered at.
Which is very interesting, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
And
I deliver
that's
papers
that
when I was,
house that's on Avery Road that's not part of the Averys, right?
All right.
That's
He
that
said
house.
9:30 or something like that. It's like, oh, give me a break. Nobody.
But that
delivers
might be what time he goes out, gets up at 9
Yeah.
and gets to the store by 9:30, and that's what time he gets his paper
Yeah.
at.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I delivered papers when I was a kid, and my route was through the week was out in the afternoon.
And as they told people to make the fire bigger, they could have told him to make the time later that he gets the paper.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Well, since you get up at 9, couldn't you say 9:30? You know.
Well, I think that if we can all agree that phone records, electronic records were withheld completely. We still,
Or they could
we-
claim typo.
yeah. Well, yeah, another typo. God,
Yeah.
that was so bad. But anyway, well, I think that we've played that one out. To me, without something else to go with what he's saying, to me, this is not a great Denny or a great Brady. It's just not. We need more. If she gets more, it may lend strength to it. But for me, as it stands now, it's just not a great Brady.
I agree.
Anyone else? Yay, nay? Terrible, good, love it, hate it? want to.
I think it just raises a little bit more doubt and it just what do you I don't want to say, but just will create a little bit more stir. It got people interested in it again, and
Right.
I think she had to add it for she was more. It was more important to add it than not, even if it doesn't go anywhere. You know.
Yeah, she evidently thought it was important enough to, you know, delay
Well, she has to use
the
it, right?
decision.
You don't get that in your lap and not use it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a
Well,
mediocre
you know,
one.
the guy that confessed from prison, that, you know, you get that in your lap, but you just ignore it because it was ridiculous.
Right.
You know.
Well, he's
So,
also the
yeah.
same one that said that Steve was guilty and had confessed to him.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm just saying, you can get something that
Yeah.
you're not going to file because you don't find it credible. So
Yeah, I'd say it's a mediocre one myself. So whatever, you know.
Well, you know, the thing is that this is really on Mr. Sowinski because he came to her. She didn't seek him out. He came to her. He's saying this. I'm telling the truth. This is what happened. That's what I remember. Whether it's true or not, you know, it's really the onus is on him. You kind of feel this pain for her, but you know, she's providing the medium for him to say, "I'm testifying as the truth. This is what I saw." So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I think for Brady's, we pretty well talked through those at length, and I'm not going to say they're dead and
Can I
buried.
just mention one other thing
Sure.
about Heitl?
Yes.
There is
please.
a call from her that is in dispatch, and it was on the 8th that she called dispatch and told them she had talked to her on Monday. Just it is on Clip It. I don't, you know, I mean separately, so
Right. Okay.
I have it somewhere, so I'll post it in the little.
I'm sure it's in the.
here
I'm sure it's in that
I'll play.
ma'am clip it thing that Rookie created.
Yeah, that's what it did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. There's a clip it room actually down lower in the Discord chat. It's probably in there or a link to it. So
Okay.
cool. Very good. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And we're going to move on to our last part, and this is going back to our potential Denny's, and we did. This is about Tom Pearce, and we did talk about him some, but it's really more in depth because he was pretty heavily involved. Any which way you slice this, I call it an old man crush. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's wrong of me to say that, but I don't know how else to feel about it because he did involve himself quite a bit. And I pulled up what you're looking at now is a CASO report, and there was, you know, this is I think an interview by it's Leslie Lemieux. But interestingly, this has also got George Zipper's part of his conversation. And I just want to go back up and read a little bit about George. Now, I'm not trying to get off on George Zipper, but I think it's interesting that how he actually talked to. Let me highlight this here. I wasn't going to do it, but I've decided I'm going to. It's interesting how George talked to him on the phone. So this section here is going to turn green for you. But anyway, he's talking to him. He says, I asked George if he had made an appointment for a photo shoot to sell a vehicle with Auto Trader. George said he had not. George said it would have been his son, which really is his grandson. I asked George if it would be possible to speak with his son. George said he didn't know where he was. I asked George if his son lived there, and he said yes. George said he works 24 hours a day and maybe talks to his son once a month. Jesus Christ. My radar, when I read this the first time, my radar went off. George said his son didn't have a cell phone and he did not know how to contact him. George said he thought his son was headed to Alaska to look for a job. George said he was going to head to Alaska the next month and do the same. George said his son works all the time too. George said Auto Trader had been calling them and he did not request their services. George said he thought that they must be con artists. I asked George if he knew whether or not the photographer had shown up on Monday and was indeed on the property. George said he wasn't sure, but he assumed so because he saw an Auto Trader magazine on the kitchen table. George was unwilling to give me personal information or his son's. I asked George how to spell his last name, and he spelled it Zizore. I asked George for his date of birth, and he said he forgot it. George then said that I'd caught him on a bad day. George said that I had now upset his dog, which was I could hear barking in the background. George told me that if it was a mean dog, and if anybody came on his property, better watch out because it could eat them starting with the feet. So I thought that was interesting. I was looking for this other part about Tom Pearce, and I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, should have included it on the. We were originally talking about it, but I thought I'd read it out just for the record.
I think George was wasted when they got
No
there.
doubt about it. He's absolutely ripped. He was wrecked.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? My son works 24 hours a day. He said it's Alaska. I never talked to him. I don't know how to get in touch. I don't know how to get in touch with him.
I have a question about all that now for people that aren't really all that aware of it. Was that really his son, or was that his grandson he was referring to?
It was his grandson.
Okay, so he didn't even have a son?
Right.
Had a daughter.
Okay.
Daughter.
I just wanted to kind of clear that up because it's one of those little details that kind of gets overlooked, a lot, because there's a lot of people that really just didn't know that.
For a long time, I was confused too, saying I thought it was his son, but it's really his grandson.
Yeah. I didn't know which one it was.
He has no sons, but he does have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
George. So it's just his grandson.
Yep. Thank you.
So, yeah. So anyway,
and
let's
he's
move.
named Zipper, which probably confuses people too, because he doesn't have his dad's name, Jason. Jason is actually Spindle or Spindler, like that.
So
anyway,
moving on to Tom Pearce. Now, Tom Pearce called Calumet. Well, he had made a call to apparently Karen Halbach, and I think we're probably maybe in here. I'm not sure if it is or not, but regardless, he had called Karen Halbach looking for Teresa, I guess on the 3rd, and then later that day, he called, or that night actually, he called before midnight on the 3rd, and it went into the 4th, and he talked to Leslie Lemieux. So I'm going to play that call here in a minute, and I'm going to explain a little bit for those out there that you probably know the story, but I'm going to tell it again anyway, just so it's clear. But, I don't want to color anybody's vision of who this guy is. Maybe he means well, and he's just, just a caring individual, and there was nothing more. I got a feeling that he had more feeling for Teresa, maybe in a romantic way. I don't know that. So this is speculation, me speculating, and just my opinion, and that's all. So that's the disclaimer. Anyway, let me read this out. At approximately 0:30 hours, 12:30 on 11/4, I received a phone call from Teresa's coworker at Pearce Photography. I spoke with the photo studio owner named Thomas Pearce. Thomas said that the last time he saw Teresa was at the studio on Saturday. Pearce said that both he and Teresa did freelance photography. He said Teresa was not much of an employee, but a coworker, independent photographer. Pearce said Teresa did not work at the studio every day. Pearce said Teresa had worked there for the last 3 to 4 years. Remember, she was an intern before she graduated college. So Pearce said that he had become concerned today as he had not seen or heard from her since Saturday. Pearce said that he had expected her to at least stop by Wednesday morning, as she was a member of the ladies' business group. Pearce said it was unlike Teresa not to stop in or at least call every few days. Pearce said Teresa had always called if she was going to be out of town or unavailable for work. Pearce did say that Teresa had mentioned to him several odd occurrences while working for the Auto Trader magazine. He said Teresa had told him she had some problems with some male clients over the summer after photo shoots while filling out paperwork and taking payment. She often was invited into homes. He said Teresa said some males had become verbally or physically flirtatious, offering her drinks, etc. Pearce said that he had warned her to be careful, being alone and oftentimes in rural areas. Pearce did say that Teresa had mentioned that she had been receiving multiple calls from an unfamiliar number to her cell phones recently. The caller would never leave a message. Pearce said, as far as he knew, Teresa had not answered any of those calls and did not know the caller. Pearce said he remembered one day her commenting when the phone rang, again, the same number they just called 5 minutes ago. Pearce said Teresa said she did not recognize the number and did not answer. Leslie Mew Corporal. Okay, that's from Calumet. So you all can digest that a minute and talk about it for a moment. I've got to get the other pulled up. It'll just take a second.
I'm curious why when Heitl stopped by to get her pictures and Teresa hadn't shown up, why didn't he raise an alarm then?
Damn good question.
That's been my question too for quite some time. Now,
Was that the first or second
she may have talked to Pearce's assistant at that time. They had a receptionist, and her name was Ariel, if memory serves.
No, Pearce said he was there and gave her the pictures.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
Was that the first or second, Jinx?
It was the first.
Now, she would have been there the very next day.
Yeah.
And there is no call from Pearce that we can see because we do have records for Teresa on the first. So that's interesting too. Like, she came in, she's like, I don't have these pictures. Didn't he say that he also called Teresa that day? Because I don't see that on his actual record either. Like, on her record.
I don't remember if he said he called her or not. He might have.
But why wouldn't he?
Well, yeah.
Here's a person coming in. She supposedly has an appointment to do pictures or get pictures from Teresa. And, like, wait. Did she want more pictures? Or
no, she was picking up her son's graduation pictures.
That's right.
Okay. They talked on the phone the day before, and they made an appointment for her to pick them up.
I'm just curious how Tom Pearce got these pictures now, because in what we're looking at in her records, she's using this H&H printing service to print some of these family photographs and things that she's doing so that she don't have to print them. And then they send them to her. Are they sending her to the office? And then she's opening her mail?
I'm sure they send
what? Because how did he get a hold of these pictures if she used another service to print them?
I'm sure he found them there in her studio. I'm sure they mailed them there.
Yeah, it doesn't really go into any real detail about that. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
But he said he found them and gave them to her.
Correct. All right,
that's interesting.
It is. But this next part, this is the phone call. I'm going to explain the phone call for those that don't know. This phone call came into Calumet County Dispatch, and it's about a 20-minute call. I'm going to play this in entirety. This call was chopped up into approximately 55 WAV files, as you see on your screen there. This is how the calls appeared, and the thing there on the left, that's the mini player that came with the CASO dispatch calls, and that's how you have to play them, because you can't use a regular program to play because they're locked. They have a whatever encryption key, but you can play them freely. So basically, I took every call from him. For some reason, they split it up over all these multiple different WAV files. Now, this lends itself to say, did they extract something from it? I don't know. Maybe they did. We have no way of knowing because the call is chopped up so many times. And you'll see as the player's going. And if you look down the left side, you'll see each one, there's a little green tick there. You'll see it. The one that's green is the one that's playing, and you'll see them as it goes by. So he calls a little before midnight on the 3rd, and it goes into the 4th. And for those, I'll give everybody a minute or a second or two. Anyone that's here in Discord that has YouTube muted, you will have to unmute it, or you will not hear the call.
So you're saying this is the call you just read, Jack?
Well, this is one I mentioned. That's mentioned that Lemieux mentioned that he called. Yes.
Okay. In the CASO report, it was a summary. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So let me see. Where's that at? Okay. So everyone, hopefully everyone's ready here in Discord because I fixed to play the call. Again, if you've got YouTube muted, you won't hear it. So anyone that wants to have this playing, this is about a 20-minute call. Grab a coffee or whatever, or a beer, or whatever suits you. So here we go.
Calumet County Sheriff's Department.
Oh, good evening. Hey, the Green Bay Police Department referred me to call Calumet County
Okay.
in regards to the Teresa Halbach.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
This is Tom Pearce from Pearce Photography. She works with me. And I talked to her. That's why I went and talked to the Green Bay Police Department. I don't know if I have any information.
Okay.
Is there a detective on this case?
Actually, I do have someone here that might be interested in hearing what you have to say.
Oh.
Okay. Could you please hold?
Sure.
Okay. Corporal Leslie Lemieux.
I'm sorry?
This is Corporal Leslie Lemieux.
This is Tom Pearce from Green Bay.
Hi.
I don't know if the lady told you what I was calling about.
Yes, about Teresa.
Yes.
You have some information?
Well, she works with me.
Right.
With Tyler up here. And early this afternoon I called her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother said that the Green Bay Police were looking at it, and I just got off actually talking to the Green Bay Police Department, and they referred me to County Matt.
Mm-hmm. She was scheduled to come in today, or I was told that she works out of your studio.
Right.
As a self-employed freelance photographer.
She has her own. She runs her own photo business through my studio.
Okay.
So it's not that she works for me. We work together.
Okay.
As her clients, and I have my clients, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know she was doing that auto trader.
Yes, and we have spoke with them.
Oh, okay.
Were you expecting her to come in today, or was she supposed to have an appointment, or?
Yeah, she doesn't come in every day.
Mm-hmm.
When she has appointments, she'll come in, and get work caught up. It's not.
Right.
But I hadn't seen her in a couple of days, and that's when I called her mom today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I called her, and her cell phone, the answering service.
Right.
Okay, that's not Teresa.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Was that with the auto trader?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if this will help, but I know a few times she would tell me she had problems with the auto, not with the auto trader, but with some of the clients.
Uh-huh.
I often told her, I said, you gotta be careful because, she's going.
Right.
And a couple of times some of the guys got a little too friendly and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Did she ever mention any names or any particular stories or instances?
Yeah.
That you can recall?
Not within the past few weeks.
Not recently?
No, not recently. Maybe like a month and a half ago. The only other for the ad, I was thinking could have been could have been a robbery or.
Okay.
The only other thing.
Right.
And typically the potential client would leave a message.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, whoever it is constantly calling me. And I'm not calling them back because I don't know who they are.
And she never picked up when they called?
No.
Well, we're going to be following up tomorrow and getting a hold of some phone records.
Oh.
So.
If you need to compare them, because all her paperwork, a lot of her paperwork at the studio.
Okay.
I don't know if, certainly come in and we can go.
Okay.
The match phone numbers, the legitimate number, or and so forth.
Now, she had mentioned that to you?
What's that?
The phone calls to the unknown.
Oh, from that unknown? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was it like a repeated kind of irritation?
yeah, one day, and it is, whoever called, just called 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she, because she gets that caller ID, and she gets the number, and they wouldn't leave a message.
Did she ever happen to show you the number, or you don't know the number? Okay.
That's, yeah, I mean, it was just,
And this, do you know when that started, or how long it had been a problem?
yeah, almost positive.
Okay.
She's been getting us for quite a few days. They wouldn't leave a message, they just call.
Okay. What?
And, I don't know if that means anything, but
Right.
it sure is strange.
Now, you had mentioned that she had problems with some of the clients. Did she ever tell you a particular story or anything that really stuck out, or?
Well, yeah, this was during the summer. They have to fill out paperwork, and then they have to pay her.
Mm-hmm.
She takes a picture of their car for the auto trader.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy invited her in, and he was talking and offered a couple drinks, and he was making some comments about her, and she had to have them fill out paperwork, and they paid, and she said, I just started feeling very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And at one time,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said, you got to be careful. You can't be going in these people's houses, especially in Sullivan. She's out in the boonies
Right.
taking pictures. And she's very independent. She says, oh, I have to take care of myself. The old cliche, everybody can take care of themselves.
Right.
Teresa, have them come outside and fill it out.
Could I I just want to confirm, your address of this photo studio is 1599 Western Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. And the name of the studio is Pearce
Yes.
Photography?
Yep, I'm Tom Pearce.
Okay, and that's P-E-I-R?
Nope, P-E-A-R.
P-E-A-R-C-E. And it's Thomas, you said?
Yes. Oh, Tom.
You go by Tom?
Yeah.
And what's your middle initial, Tom? E as in Edward?
Yep. Oh, very good.
Good guess, huh? And your date of birth?
10/5/48.
And when is the last time that you had contact with her?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. Yeah, that's what Karen told me. And what did you see her at the studio, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she had a couple shoots in the afternoon, and I had some in the morning, scheduled around each other.
Okay. So she had some appointments at work. And does she have an email address at the studio or a computer?
Through her own webpage.
Okay, so that would be the same email that would be on her home computer?
Yep.
Okay. You have that access to that as well.
Okay.
And you mentioned, did she just have the one cell phone that she uses mostly for business?
Yeah,
Okay, so I just want to make sure that there wasn't another phone out there floating around that I wasn't aware of. But,
no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I didn't know if she maybe had a separate phone for a business number or not.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I talked to her mom earlier. Very much so, which I
Did you contact Karen wondering where she was, or did Karen contact you?
Well, actually, earlier this afternoon, I just thought it was strange because Teresa's habit of coming in.
Mm-hmm. Like,
whether
how often?
Well, it depends. Like, if I know, if she knows she's not going to be in at all, like tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And last week, because we're closed on Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll do it either in the morning or do it up until 1, 2, or she does have appointment if orders came in to put them together and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tuesday I didn't see her, and I didn't think much of it. Well, Wednesday morning she go on business group,
Mm-hmm.
and I belong to another business group, and from like 7:30 in the morning till 9, and she usually comes in she's in a ladies group and I'm in a mixed group, for breakfast.
Mhm.
So sometimes she'd come in 11 o'clock. And see if there's anything that came in, anything that
Mhm.
well, she didn't show up. I thought, okay, she didn't have any appointments.
That would have been yesterday, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she'll be in today.
Mhm.
We know roughly, when we send out an order, it takes about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to get the orders back. And she either calls back coming in or doesn't have anything scheduled. And the order,
Mhm.
she's sick, been in a car accident, and usually if she's sick or something of that nature, she would call me.
Right.
So, I can't remember what time it was, maybe 1-ish or whatever. Not that minute, but within the next available time she'd have, she'd call us back.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, okay, well, she's sick. Bothered me for a while. I want to call her mom, because her mom was right down.
Right.
And called Karen and, see, by this morning, her car was gone, and, like, normal,
Mhm.
and so our mailbox is full. I said, oh. I know some of her friends, but I don't know their phone numbers, or some of her friends will come in and visit this afternoon. I was getting phone calls from some of her friends. And gee, you heard from Teresa.
Mhm.
So, the network started looking.
Right.
And then I told Karen, if you hear anything, just let me know, so I don't have to worry. And I didn't hear anything.
Yeah. I hadn't called you. Karen had told me that she had spoken to you, and she had given me the information that you had last seen her on Saturday. But there is going to be further follow-up tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, that's
So, are you going to be at the office
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow? Okay. I'm sure sometime tomorrow that there'll be either a Calumet investigator or Green Bay investigator at the office to speak with you. Take a look around.
Rick, I think it was Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Green Bay. I didn't speak to him, but the lieutenant on the window.
Mm-hmm.
And he took everything down. And, if they need to go through her paperwork or whatever,
Right, which we'll be looking for everything that we can to follow up on. Do you know, you said you know some of her friends. Does a Michael Vanden Hoogle ring a bell?
Mom asked, and because I talked to her again tonight.
Okay.
As soon as I saw that on the news, I called Mom right away. The Mike does. The Vanden Hoogle is a pretty common name around here.
Yeah, I've heard that name myself.
I know she knew these guys that race motorcycles.
Okay.
And I'm not pointing a finger to them, but
right.
She was good friends with them.
And just were tracking down phone numbers and...
Yeah. Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But not the last name.
Okay.
She would say like, oh yeah, good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm. Just first name.
Yeah.
Do you know does she stay in Green Bay often or?
Not really.
Okay.
If she would, she'd stay by one of her girlfriends.
Okay.
Say they were going to go out or something.
And you don't know of any boyfriends or?
No.
And she hadn't mentioned, except for those phone calls, nothing strange or out of the ordinary.
No.
Recently.
No, even her behavior, like she was.
Mm-hmm.
But I know she has friends in Milwaukee and Chicago.
Okay.
And she mentioned, she said, yeah, one of these weeks I'm going to go down and see her.
Mm-hmm.
She came up and met her a couple days. 998-316. Road trips like that. She let me know that I'm going to be gone and wherever she was going to go, so don't. Because I would book appointments for her, and she would book appointments for me, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Did she have any specific appointments today, or it was just that you hadn't seen her for several days?
I haven't seen her.
Okay. Okay. Tom, do you have the home phone number or a cell phone that we could reach you at if we need to?
Oh, sure. Home phone is 920
Mm-hmm.
434 3004.
3004.
Right. And the studio.
Okay.
We'll probably be there by 9 tomorrow.
Okay.
920
Mm-hmm.
592
Okay.
9494.
And do you have a cell phone as well, or?
I don't use it.
Okay.
Basically, I use it in my car for emergencies.
Okay.
So I very seldom even have it on.
Okay.
I'm not a cell phone guy. But at 10 o'clock, one of the girls that works for me, she talks with
Mm-hmm.
that's what she'll be in. And she might be able to, set something else too.
Okay. Very good. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you or that you can think of?
No, that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
The thing that, I'm sure they checked hospitals and stuff.
yes.
Okay. They know about, and I don't think she got them fixed. One of these days she's got to get a brake job done.
Okay.
That's why I said about hospitals and she got in a car accident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were contacted, but no luck there.
Okay. Yeah, that scares me, especially today.
Right.
Too much of this.
Well, if you need anything, the investigator that's going to be taking care of the investigation tomorrow anyway will be investigator Mark Wiegert from our Sheriff's Department.
Mark Wiegert.
Wiegert, Wiegert. But you can just call this dispatch number and they'll transfer you to the right person. Investigator.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, someone from our department or Green Bay will most likely be there tomorrow to take a walk around.
Yeah, no. I'll see if I can get there early and start calling her.
Her laptop?
Yeah.
We have that.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Was that home? Was that abnormal, or did she have more than one?
No, she uses a little iPod too, but a lot of times she'll bring it in. That's where she does a lot of her bookwork and all that.
Okay.
So there should be. I'm sure you've had screened it already.
Yeah. Okay.
There should be a lot of client phone numbers on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be some shot photograph.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to call in and.
Oh, gosh. She's been working for about 3-4 years now.
So you know her routine then.
Yeah, pretty much. Work like that, you get to know.
Mm-hmm. What's your home address, Tom?
1707 Woodbury Terrace.
And Woodbury, Wood.
One word, yeah. Sorry.
And Berry?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, one of our investigators will be in touch with you tomorrow.
Okay.
Did you have any other questions?
No.
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 Okay. I will leave that for the investigator, and I'm sure he'll be in contact with you in the morning.
Okay.
All right.
All right, good.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, bye-bye.
Good night.
So there we go. Pretty long, and Sammy made a good comment there. He kept mentioning car accident.
Yeah, I was noticing Jinxie was saying that, and I kept catching him kind of muttering and mumbling about a car accident. It was weird.
Yeah.
That is so chopped up. There is so much missing out.
That's what I'm saying. If you guys noticed as we went through several of the little passages there as they played, the WAV files were minute and a half long, 2 minutes, and there are actually calls within the CASO dispatch that are several minutes long, so they didn't have to chop it up. I'm just saying.
Well, I didn't hear the thing about Denise coming in and picking up the pictures. Was that in the call?
I did hear him say we're usually closed on Monday.
And she had no appointments, I heard. I was putting it in the chat as I was listening. He mentioned she had no appointments.
And then he said something about Tuesday. Maybe that was no appointments on Tuesday.
But then that's where they cut it out. Why did they cut out the part about Denise coming in picking up her pictures?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
because I didn't hear that she picked up pictures.
No.
Didn't he also say something weird, like something about he took everything out of the window?
I didn't hear that.
I don't know. And then he mentions car accident 2 times in that call. I don't know if anybody else heard that.
Yeah, I did.
Which I find interesting because there is some sort of damage and accident happening with her car.
Yep.
I could swear. Was it only 2 times? Because I could swear I heard it more than twice. But
yeah, I thought I heard it like 3 or 4 times.
Peculiar. Yeah.
He was a little hard of hearing at times. She's a lot louder than he is in that call.
Well, there's white noise playing in the background, and there's ways to minimize that to some degree with that freedom player that comes with the whole deal. But you can't. There's really not a huge amount you can do with it. Oh, I also want to thank Seeking Truth for getting the CASO dispatch calls, because this was just part of the 18,000 plus calls that came. So I want to thank her for.
I know she can't see me, but I bow down to you, Queen of FOIAs.
So do I, absolutely. And I bow. I walk backwards while bowed out the door. She is just she's really something. But this call, to me, it's really interesting the way it's cut up. I remember, and I can't remember who it was that called. But I remember distinctly listening when Joy and I were recording these calls. There was at least, more than one, several that were like 4 minutes long, 3.5, 5.5. And, the WAV file just played normally, just like several of these pieces that we were just listening to. I don't know.
There's no timestamps, right?
They are timestamped. Yeah.
So is there missing time?
Yeah, I was going to look into that maybe.
Well, without, you'd have to go down and look at there may be. I don't know. See,
I was listening for it, and the conversation does seem to be continuous, solely, but there was a bit at the start that I felt had a gap.
Quite a few.
It was at the end of his answers when the WAV file would end and the next one would begin. It's like there's a missing chunk of a couple of seconds that were just gone. It was just like because.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's more. And again,
I mean, what have you got it on?
I'm sorry.
You, send me it. I might have a listen to it. Like the MP3 that you sent me last time.
In our chat on the YouTube, I posted the foulplay.site case dispatch calls. Just
she wants this particular call. I can send you this is actually an MKV file. I mean, I can convert it if you want, but it'll play normally. I mean, it's
no. Send me that file. That file.
Well, I can send you.
I can. Has it too.
I'm sorry.
Just Tom Pearce's call is unclipped as well.
Is it? It's just what it needs to be sometimes in
now wait a minute. Isn't that the one that's got the click? Isn't that the one that's got the clicks in it, Jinx?
It does.
Well, and that's the reason that I did the call the way I did. I'll send you my Google Drive link, Disco, and that way you can just download it if you want.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. There was a suspicion for whatever reason way back when we got these calls and not knowing how to work the player in the beginning. The player, it's really kind of it's clumsy. It really is clumsy the way that this thing operates. Literally, you can load up just a ton of the calls and just you can load them all and just let them play. Just hit play and they'll just continue to play one after the other, which is really how we recorded the each channel as we did Zoe and I did them. But I wanted just these calls, so I just made this one clip for the Tom Pearce call. So, but there was a suggestion that that we had edited the calls themselves, and that's the reason I did it the way I did it, to show that we did not. The calls play; it's playing as is, as we got them. If there's any editing done, they did it. We didn't. We have nothing to hide whatsoever. So I'll be glad to
send it. From my mouth because I wasn't as tech savvy as you and Zoe.
Well, like I said, we didn't know how to operate the player, way back then. No one did in the beginning. It wasn't until a little bit later that it was found that you could auto play multiple calls at one time, as many as you wanted. You can just load them up. So that's your fault. You did the best you could, right? I mean, you click. You clicked them as you had to do it. So, and considering it was 55 freaking files, I think you did pretty good.
So so this is a call. When's Tom Pearce calling?
He called right before midnight on November 3rd, and it went into November 4th.
Because he kind of sounds like a bit put out of why they haven't been around to see him.
He tried calling. What did he say? Brown County or?
Yes. Yeah, I think he said.
He directed him to Calumet.
That's right. And he also.
So that means that there's getting calls in Brown County for this case that we haven't heard either. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know if Seeking tried to FOIA them for that or not. I'm thinking that maybe she did. I don't remember.
I'm sure they were destroyed unless CASO got them,
Probably. I would imagine.
Could this be another Brady if they cut out the part about Denise on purpose and that they never yes, she writes about it in her report, which is kind of where you can see that they cut out the part about it, because otherwise where'd she get that information put in the report? I didn't hear him say anything about someone coming in and her not being there and that he gave photographs to her. I didn't hear that part in the call, which shows that something's cut. And did she or any of the other defense attorneys get this whole call? Because why clip it? What else are they clipping out of the call?
That's what I'm saying. When you you get these reports that are written days or weeks after the fact, what gets lost and shoveled or added to something that didn't happen on the day that you talked to this person, but happened in the interim, and you just include it in the report like it happened when you talked to them originally. It skews stuff, and it maybe not on purpose, but maybe it is on purpose. I don't know. So anyway, I just I felt that was I don't know that he would necessarily make a.
He also talked about her in past tense.
Yeah.
I believe he mentioned her as in a past tense way a couple
Well,
times.
You also brought up about the Reels thing that he did, and maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. At least explain. I didn't grab that clip.
There is a link on my page on my channel that I pulled from Reels. It's just a very small clip where Tom Pearce tells Reels that when he called on the 3rd and talked to Karen Halbach, that Karen Halbach had mentioned that she had driven by Teresa's house and that the garage door had been open and there was no Rav in there, which is just something he's bringing up now in 2016, I believe that show, Murder Made Famous.
He said that in the call, though. I heard that in the call, and then something about her mailbox being full.
Oh, did he say that?
Mm-hmm.
I missed it. I'm gonna have to listen to that call, and I might have to like try to turn him up somehow because I turned up my speakers all the way up and my
You might want to
attributions
wait
all the way up.
until after. You might want to wait until after Pervert's got hold of it, because she might be able to fix it.
Oh, is that what you're gonna do? Yay!
Yeah, she's got
Yeah, if
access
I get the
to.
right
Yeah.
file, I can break it up into another file like I did with the other one, and it totally brings a lot out of it.
I mean, I
If you
can
need
pro.
it.
I mean, you can download the entire, if you download the entire CASO dispatch thing, it's pretty large, and it creates a lot of directory or different folders and so forth. It's quite something. But I'm trying to think. I may have it on an external drive. I may be able to send you each individual. You're going to have the player though. I'll send you this first and see what you can do with it, and then
Yes,
if
send me that so I can see what it is. That'll be great. Thanks.
I think I have the player on my Google Drive that you can download too. Because
well, she'd have to have.
She'd have to change computers, and I had to get all the Truth, and I'm like,
yeah,
player.
she'd have to have the individual files though. The player's not going to do any good.
Yeah, but I think the whole thing is there on. I think Seeking Truth gave me permission to just put it on Google Drive also, so that anybody could go and download it.
Well, I'm going to give you guys a little heads up about Google Drive and downloading the CASO dispatch
calls. You don't always
calls.
get them all, so be careful.
That's right. But I do have them on my OneDrive, and it does work, because ultimately that's how I had to get them to Zoe, because I tried to give them to her a couple of times, and she was not getting every file for some reason. It's just weird. I don't know. So it's a glitch.
Same thing happened with the photos when I tried to download them all.
Yeah, it's a glitch with Google Drive. Anyway, potential Denny, yes or no? Not hearing a lot of
I believe so. And I believe we had some comments in the chat stating that they believed also that this could be a good thing.
I'd like to know why he was so reluctant to give his cell phone number.
He said he didn't use it. He did. Yeah, I just use it. I just put it in my car for. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but
I call BS on that. He's a photographer. If he has to go out on site, it would be good for him to have a phone, so that if something happened at the office or at the studio, his receptionist or Teresa, his partner or coworker, could go and get a hold of him.
He probably only uses that for his naked work.
Boudoir.
I kind of believe him that he didn't know how to work a cell phone, or maybe especially with the shell coverage or something. And did they not have beepers? He seems like a beepers guy to me.
Well, he's an older man.
He would have been 57 in 2005.
Yeah, he's a little bit older, so cell phone technology was, some of the newfangled stuff that's coming out. So maybe he didn't. Just
57 is not very old.
I think back then people still had pagers. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think there's a potential there. His involvement, again, it's like I stated in the beginning. I don't know if it's just, concerned, coworker. He's been around her for, several years now, apparently. Or if there was some kind of feeling, that he, at least from his direction towards her, maybe it was a fatherly type feeling. I don't know. But his involvement seemed, it just seemed a bit much to me. I don't know.
I'm suspicious of the guy.
You know, one thing I found missing from the phone call is that famous sentence about that was supposed to be your last day.
Yeah. I didn't hear that.
Oh, with Auto Trader.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been important to mention to the police?
Was that who he was talking to when he mentioned it? Do you remember? Because I remember hearing that too.
May have been a different. Maybe a different investigator.
Yeah.
Or was it when he was on the stand he brought that up?
I don't recall.
But you know what? Yeah, if we think about that, you look at Teresa Halbach, he should have been in that closer circle of people that she was involved with on a daily.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know how close she really was to Tom Pearce, because we know that she was an intern or whatever when she was doing her internship for her college. She graduated college in what, 2002, right? Or 2001, 2002. If it was a 4-year college, which I think she did a bachelor's in communications and Spanish, 4 years. So if she was working for him as an intern, and then she went off and was working for that other picture people or whatever for a long time, she was going to start a business with one of the owners from that business. You see this in her in like her emails. She's like talking about starting a business with one of the owners that I guess they were getting separated, whatever. She was gonna, and that wasn't working out. And then all of a sudden, here comes the savior, like Tom Pearce. I'll offer you up my studio. How long had it been really, like, how close was she during the years that she was not even like, she's no longer an intern, let's say in 2002, 2003. Did she really have this relationship with him for 2 years that
Well, I
he
promise
just
you, she's
offers up his
closer.
business?
She's
Be
closer
like,
than
here,
Avery
come
ever
and
was.
be your own business, and I'll let you use my studio location for your own studio, and we'll share the spot.
What's that, Sammy?
She's also paying him too, by the way.
Well, he's a hell of a lot closer circle of people than Avery ever was.
And wasn't
Sure.
there a call about him having a temper?
I'm not sure. There was something.
Somewhere another
Rumor or
intern that
something.
had worked for him had
Yeah.
said that he has a vicious temper. Yeah.
But didn't he also say that he didn't really usually take on interns, and he just thought she was a very good photographer, or like he had some kind of fascination with
Well, there's
her.
another thing too. I'm pretty sure that she either bought or she borrowed from him that expensive. I can't remember the name of the model type camera. It wasn't one
She
of the.
bought it from him.
It wasn't a point and
Yeah.
shoot. It was that expensive, $4,000 or
No,
$5,000
yeah.
camera.
Is that why she paid him $800 and something dollars? Maybe that's what the check is for. That's in her banking record, because she wrote
Maybe.
him a check for like $800 and something dollars.
She probably shared the rent.
Well,
Yeah,
that too.
that's
I mean, I think there's actually
That's probably
might be more than
studio
one.
rent because she probably had the camera. She probably got the camera during school, right?
I don't know. She
I
could
don't
have
know.
got later.
Hasselbach or something.
Yep. Hasselbach. Yeah, I think Hasselbach. Yeah.
Hasselblad. Yeah.
I mean,
Again, more questions were never asked of him, like more specific things, like when did you sell her your camera? Why is this $800 check to
well,
you?
where is that camera?
You know.
What happened to it? Because it seems
is that camera still around?
seemingly
Or
disappeared.
was he in possession of it?
Well, in that one news clip that I seen where he was oh so creepy, but we've never been able to find it all. Jinx did find me part of it, but it's where they cut it. But they show like his studio, and he's got a whole glass cabinet of them by the cash register. A whole
Cameras?
wall of them. Hasselbach them. He's got like a whole line of them there.
Yeah, apparently he was pretty well to do, I guess, at that point in his life.
I think it's a Hasselblad, and they're using them now in cell phones too. So they're very good cameras, very expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he had like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 maybe. There's like a scene where they panned around the studio like, and they showed them all in the glass
Maybe
cabinet.
he sold them. Yeah.
One looked very antique. One looked like an antique version of it, but they were all the same.
Hell, that might have been worth a lot of money considering if it was an older model, kind of rarity for some collector.
So I do remember that from the one clip where they showed in his studio.
I got a question here I see in chat. Why didn't law enforcement ask Ariel Cook any questions? She worked for Tom Pearce, and Tom Pearce says her and Teresa became friends. I don't remember that name. Somebody help me. Jinx, anybody? I do not remember that name.
Ariel Cook. I don't know if that was her name back then. I'm not sure. I know it was Ariel. She is Tom Pearce's receptionist or front desk person at the studio. She worked there and answered phones and greeted customers and, here, fill out this form, whatever, and I'll be
Right.
with you in a second.
Right.
That type of person at the studio. She worked there. She said she knew Teresa. There's actually something she wrote on her Facebook page that had been passed around
But the
about her
cops,
mentioning Teresa
but
and
but
how
the
they were
cops never,
friends.
but the cops never interviewed her. It looks like.
But the cops never interviewed her. And like
Interesting.
I said
Yeah,
in
you
chat
kind of
too,
look
like,
at it.
go ahead.
You look at it, and they weren't really approaching him. He was calling them, right?
That's
So they
right.
weren't really feeling out anybody over there to begin with.
Well,
Which is odd because
Huh?
most crimes are committed by people close to the victim, and these people are all close.
I always become guarded when you have somebody that inserts themselves like that, and he did
Yeah.
pretty. I mean, that was a 20-minute call, which could have really been boiled down to really probably about 5 minutes, maybe 8. It really kind of went on. So again, this comes
Also, I'd
into
like to note that in this call, he says that she is getting these calls from people that she does not know, and they are not leaving messages.
right. I do remember hearing that.
But then in I believe in his trial, he says when I think it's Buting or String that bring up these harassment calls basically, and his story changed. She knew who they were. Well, did she or did she not know who they were?
Right.
He suspected Ryan, right?
Well, I don't know
You
who
talking
he
about
suspected.
you talking about
Maybe he
Beauty?
was trying to imply. Well, yeah, he was probably like, and it was somebody else. It obviously wasn't Steven Avery who was calling and hanging up and
No.
leaving messages because there's nothing in the evidence that shows that he was calling her all
No.
the time, like some luring her in with all these calls. He
Right.
was not doing that. So
No.
it was someone else.
Interesting.
But he happens to say he knows who it is. It's now she knows who this person is that's calling and hanging up. Like, does that mean that he knew too? Does he really know? Maybe his story will change later now that he's got dementia. So we'll never know the true story.
Well, that's even worse though, because if he's the mind's not right, then it has little value. But I don't know. I get my radar just kind of goes off with the guy. He just seems to really insert himself more so than a concerned coworker. But again, everybody can form their own opinion. What do you guys think? Potential of Denny?
Potential Denny, more investigated, needed.
Agreed. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely think he could have been a potential Denny. Should have been looked at.
Excuse me.
He's
Definitely.
also very politically connected.
He
Yep.
seemed like he would be the type of person to like let a lot of information slip. So I think he should have been talked to more.
Ew.
Oh, there's you.
How are you?
Well, there's Hugh. Wow.
Where you
We were
been?
about to. We've been about to send out a search party.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wondering why he's not in the call here. Gosh, we haven't seen him in like well over a week now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Been several days. I hope he's okay. Everything's all right. Real life always sometimes sneaks up on us and hits us in the head really hard. You kind of have to drop everything else you've been doing and attend to it. Okay.
Well, Hugh,
All right.
we are so glad to see you again.
Yes, we are. All right, ladies, gentlemen, I think we've pretty much covered really pretty much all of, I mean, there may be more potential Denny's out there, but they really go into that next ring out away from her that I don't would really consider a Denny. So any more to add about that before we're at, let's see where we're at here. Yeah, we're at 2 hours and 25 minutes. So it's getting a little bit late for folks, especially the East Coasters, the Europeans. I'm sure we lost Alex because I'm sure she was really tired in her neck of the woods. So,
well, I just want to mention before we go, thank you everybody for coming. And remember, if you're new here, like and subscribe and share this out to everyone.
Absolutely. Yep. If you want to know more, join us on Discord. There's generally people there more often than not, maybe not 24 hours a day, but pretty often. And there's, new people that have questions that they need help with. Foul Play's got a extensive library thanks to Zoe and Spooky. They continually add things as we can. It's going to get bigger and bigger. There's thanks to the FOIA warriors out there, we've got tons of information for people that are just starting. And we found recently that there's people that really have just gotten into the case. They didn't watch Man back in 2015. I was like, wow. We had one a couple of weeks ago that joined, and she was mad as hell. So
Yeah.
anyway, anything more to add before we jet off? Not necessarily about this, but anything upcoming, anything we want to watch or promote. Now's the time.
You said that he's been locked out of Discord. He can't. He's having a problem again getting in. It keeps happening to him. I don't know why.
Oh no, that's interesting. I know that there was an update here. Well, probably a week ago.
Yeah.
If you're on the app on your computer, try the website. If you're on the website on your computer, try the app. Or I think that's what he uses. So sometimes one will have a problem and the other won't. Like if you're on the actual website part of it, which is discord.app.com, I think, discordapp.com. Sometimes they have those issues. So
you had
try that.
You had some issues a while back, didn't you, Jinx? With that?
What's that?
You had some issues with that a while back, didn't you?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I can't get in on, and sometimes I have to actually remove the Discord app and re-download a fresh copy of it. Like all those updates mess with it sometimes.
Right.
So it's like it wants a fresh copy, the most updated copy of it. So I get rid of all of it and re-put it on there so that it's nice and fresh. And sometimes that helps too. So you might want to try that.
Good suggestion. Well, for me, I wanted to give a little shout out to Linda and Sean. They had a really lively discussion. I think it was yesterday. So people go check that out on Checking Convictions channel. Check out Becca and her channel. She's promoting Brendan and trying to get more subscribers. Go check her out. And I forgot to mention last week for the open mic with Diane and Jane, I did link their YouTube channels in the description, so be sure to check them out too. We love them to death, and anyone for the open mic is exactly what it says. We're open to discuss pretty much anything case related, and we've even went outside of the the Avery Dassey case realm, and we probably will again. I would imagine something of interest. It doesn't necessarily mean that we agree or disagree, but it's something that's in this realm of true crime that people want to talk about. They're mad as hell, or they don't understand, or whatever the case may be. But that's what the open mic's about, and I think it's a really good medium for people to talk. So, all right, I want to thank everybody for coming, and thank everybody here.
Thank you, Jack. You've been great.
Thank you very much, Discord. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see everybody again next week. This has been a Foul Play production.